Hey, welcome, folks. If you're seeing this video right now, most likely um, someone who cares deeply about you gave it to you, which is super cool, right? A friend of mine asked me to put this together for you. Everything we do is about producing results, and goals, of course, is a big part of that. So it seemed natural for me to share some thoughts on it. Now, this is not a rah motivational, inspirational video. None of that. Actually, I'm going to go the opposite way, because I'll show you the downsides of that kind of stuff in achieving goals. But let me start with this, right? And here's even the problem with the word goals. I mean, I'd rather use the word results and outcomes, but we tend to use the word goals, right? But the problem is goals typically do not get achieved. North of 90% of all goals that get set never get achieved. And when it comes to like New Year's resolutions, that number even creeps up even higher, like 95, 97% of New Year's resolutions never get knocked down. So when we use the word goals, we start referring to something negative, right? And that's not really a great way to start this out. But we'll use the word goals, but no, it's really more about results and outcomes. Now, if I were to ask you fundamentally, why do we set goals? What is the number one reason why, universally for all of us, we set goals? I'm going to give you that answer. It's pretty simple, right? It's to make us feel better. That's right. Goals make us feel better. Whatever your goal is, it ultimately is designed to make you feel better. So with that said, I want to keep that in mind as we go through this, because for many of us, we can start to feel better now, which is a key part of this takeaway. Just remember that along the way. So broke this little training into 3 parts, and I'm going to kind of go through it really quick, because I know we don't have tons of time to take this on, but I do recommend just sit back, enjoy it the first time through, right? Take it all the second time through. Maybe you can get a recording for it. Take some notes on it, right? The actions or the points I lay out here are very actionable immediately. And here's the cool thing about it. They also immediately start producing tangible, documentable, recordable results for you. So super cool. So I broke this into 3 parts. Part 1 on goals is how to set them. That's an important part, because oftentimes we screw that up. And if we screw that up, well, we're off to a bad start. Part 2, how to actually get them. Part 1 is how to set them. Part 2 is how to get them, how to achieve them. Wouldn't that be nice to know, right? In a way that removes kind of like the hope for and I'm going to remove all that kind of stuff and just have a very foundational way to achieve the things that you commit to doing, right? And then part 3, how to keep them. Oftentimes we'll achieve a goal, but we don't keep it in our possession very long. All that hard work goes out the door. And we're going to talk about why that happens as well, right? So I'm going to talk fast. I said I would recommend you just kind of sit back, enjoy this, take it in for what it, take it in for what it's worth to you, and do know that at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is feel better, right? That's part of our DNA as human beings. That's why we have the power and authority to start embracing the results of this immediately. So number 1, okay, in setting goals is setting the right goals. And I always start out with what I call the lighthouse. In order to set a goal, so whether it be for the week, for the month, whatever, you need something down the road to point that goal towards. You don't want to be setting new goals every week that are zigzagging you in different directions, and at the end of the month you really haven't made any progress because you circled back around, right? So I call this a lighthouse. And the lighthouse is, well, it's set off at a time distance out in front of the goals that you are setting. So let's say you want to set your goals for the year, right? Well, you need a lighthouse at the end of the year to guide those goals. Maybe even a 3-year lighthouse. And a lighthouse is simply a defined destination of where you're going to be at that period of time. It's not the how to do it or what to do it. It just gives you an outlook. So look at it as if you're on the open body of water and you're trying to navigate, right? Trying to pick even waypoints on a GPS are difficult unless you know the end goal, where you're trying to go, right? The waypoints are the individual goals. So setting this lighthouse, right, off in the distance, allows you to put goals that are in alignment with the lighthouse. This way we know at least the goals are moving us directly towards our desired outcome. Following me on this? And I'll give you just, and I'll use a lot of examples out of the fitness world just because I own a gym and it applies so much there. And then many of us can relate to it because many of our own goals involve fitness, right? But we'll use like losing weight. You know, somebody comes into my gym, hey, Pat, I want to lose 25 pounds. I'm like, yeah, I get it. That's awesome. But because they haven't set the lighthouse, they just know they want to lose 25 pounds. That doesn't give us any direction as to how we want to go about losing that weight. Now, mind you, we also have martial arts and we fighters in our gym, and I help them lose weight. Sometimes they'll show up because they messed up their weight loss and they got to lose 15 pounds in a week, and we can get that done. Sometimes they show up and they got to lose 6 pounds in a day, maybe in the next 5 hours, and we can get that done too. But that is not the same as someone who wants a lifestyle of health and fitness. The approach is going to be totally different, right? That's why this lighthouse is so important. And when we get confused, when we get lost, when we get kind of just frazzled a bit, like chaotic, having a lighthouse out in front of us means we can, at any given point, all we got to do is look up and it'll provide insight, direction, wisdom as to what to do next. So keep that in mind as we're setting our goals. And all your goals should be able to fall right on line between where you are now and that lighthouse. If you're to draw a straight line from your current location and that lighthouse that you define at some future time, draw a straight line between the two. Your goals should be on that line and moving you directly towards the lighthouse. Kind of make sense? Cool. So that's number one, create the lighthouse. Number two, some rules to setting goals. One, all goals have to be measurable. If you can't measure it, it doesn't count. And everything is measurable. You just got to think through it. Even the intangibles are measurable. So just keep that in mind. When you set a goal, you've got to be able to come up with a way to measure it. Number two, put down goals that are tangible and intangible. You may think that intangibles are not measurable. I want to become more spiritual or whatever it may be, right? I want to become more caring. Well, it seems intangible, but that's extremely measurable. We can put KPIs to that, right? Number three, there's got to be a time associated with it. A goal without a time is not a goal, it's just a dream, okay? When you set a goal, you got to put a timeline by which it is to be accomplished, right? And then fourth, there's got to be a personal agreement, a commitment. What is your commitment to achieving this goal? And this falls within what I call a personal code, which maybe another time you can watch another video that we do on that, right? But this is, man, these are the guardrails that you stay in, the lanes that you drive in, the constitution by which you live by. These are the non-breakables and non-negotiables. What is your commitment to achieving this goal? And sometimes when we get to that point, we realize maybe this goal is not exactly the right goal, right? So number one, create the lighthouse. Number two, follow the rules of setting the goal, picking the right goal. Number three, and this is a big one. Once we've chosen a goal, okay, we've got to ask ourselves, what am I going to give up? What am I willing to give up in order to achieve that goal? You see, your goal is going to take some resources, some time, energy, effort from you. And we already use all of our time, energy, effort doing something else already every single day. Every moment of your 24 hours is consumed every day for all of us. We have no choice. It's how it happens, which means we're going to have to give something up that we're currently doing in order to achieve the goal. I call this kind of one way of making space. This way, there's room for the goal to get accomplished. And when we don't allocate this space, oftentimes our old habits and our old time-consuming stuff, even if it's the wrong stuff that we don't necessarily like or dislike, it just happens, just overwhelms our time, and we have no time to achieve the new goal. So create the space for it, right? At least give yourselves a fighting chance. So in terms of how to set a goal, number one, create the lighthouse. Make sure there's a guiding wisdom off in the future, so when opportunities present themselves, you can quickly wean through them and know if they're distractions or true opportunities. They fall on the line, they're possible. If they're outside the line, they're not possible because they're pulling you away from achieving your results, right? Number two, stick to the rules. There's very specific rules. They got to be measurable. They got to be specific. They got to be time. They have to have a timestamp on it. They got to be tangible and intangible. Put them all on the line, right? And there's got to be a commitment by you written down that is non-negotiable. Number three, ask yourself, what will you give up, right? What is the space you're going to create that you're currently doing, right? And then number four is the awareness around it, okay? And I'll get to this a little in how to get to the goal, right? How to actually achieve them. We all good with number one? I know I'm talking fast, right? But it's important because we set the wrong goals. If we don't believe in these goals to begin with, right? We ain't going to do them. It's just how it happens. Now, do not make this mistake. Do not set a goal that makes you feel good in the moment, but is not something you're willing to commit to actually achieving. And we do this all the time. We get down on ourselves. We don't like the way our body looks. We don't like the way our bank account looks. We don't like the way our spreadsheet looks, right? So we set this new goal. We get a moment of inspiration, a moment of motivation. And then we feel good. We get what we wanted in the first place, to feel good. And that's, after all we want out of goals is to feel better. But we let that satisfy our drive. And we don't make that deep-seated commitment to actually achieving it. And then in short order, we're back to business as usual. And that's how oftentimes we roll. That's a perfect example of how most New Year's resolutions roll out. Most of them don't even get started. I mean, ask yourself this: how many New Year's resolutions did you set last year? And how many of them did you follow through? And how many did you actually start, right? So that's number one, how to set goals. Number two, how to actually get them, how to achieve them. Now, there's a big question we got to ask ourselves, right? Before we start any achieving process. Once we set the goal, right? And this is questions got to be taken with some deep, like, intentional thought. Look yourself in a mirror, because you know you better than anyone. You know your positives and your negatives. You know exactly why you haven't achieved what it is you want to achieve already. Look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, who do I have to become in order to achieve this goal? What behavior has to change in order to have this? At the end of the day, right, we all heard this 1,000 times over. This is not new to you. In order to have something you've never had, you've got to do something you've never done. In order to do something you've never done, you've got to first become someone who you have not yet been. Who do you have to become in order to do what you have to do in order to have what you want to have? See, this isn't about focusing on goals. This is about focusing on behavioral change to achieve the goal that's in alignment with our brighter lighthouse. Challenges, we always default back to focusing on the goal. We'll get back to that in a minute, again in a second, okay? So write down exactly who you have to become. And it's got to be defined as behaviors, right? In a moment, you're going to hear me bring up the word habit. You'll see how behaviors start rolling into habits. Next, okay? Stop the comparing game. We all compare. We all judge. I get it. Stop it. Here's why. When we compare ourselves to someone else, we ain't comparing ourselves to someone behind us. Let's face it, we're not. We're always comparing ourselves to someone up there, someone we want to be like, right? Who has something we don't currently have. But here's the problem. When we finally identify what it is they have that we don't have, you know what we quickly default and look at? We look at the void, the space in between. That void is lack. Lack is what we don't have. So now, instead of focusing on what we want to have, we focus on what we don't have. And of course, we simply, we attract into our life that which we focus on. And then we wonder why we keep getting the same damn results over and over. Stop with the compare game. You got nothing to compare against. There's no one as unique and as special that has the same God-given innate skills and talents that you do. No one. And here's the thing. You want to be the best, which I'd argue that you don't, but I'll get back to that too in a second. You'll never outperform that person at being the best them. And they'll never outperform you at being the best you. So stop trying to be like them. Be you. You want to operate in a state of power instead of a state of force? Be authentic and unique and special. Let your own magic rise to the top. Stop trying to be what you think they think you should be. What? Stop trying to be what you think they think you should be. Just be you. And you can therefore, when you reach that, here's the thing, when you try to be someone else, you'll hit a ceiling. and you'll force it the whole way. And you'll never be as good as them at being them. But with you, there is no top to how good you'll get. As long as we commit to that every day, getting better, 1% every day, right? So ask yourself, who do you have to be in behaviors in order to become the person you want to become, in order to have what it is you want to have. Don't compare. When we compare, we focus on the wrong thing. It's like driving down the road and seeing the pothole. We focus on the pothole. We hit the pothole, the same damn thing we want to avoid in the first place. Next, want to achieve the goals, right? Focus on not being the best. Focus on always being better. Not being the best, always being better. 1% a day is a pretty good number to work on. How much is that? I don't know. It's just better than you were the day before. In your attitude, in how you feel, your emotions, in your relationships, in your communication, in your physical well-being, in all areas of life. Did you know if you improve yourself 1% a day for an entire year, you'll end up 38%, 100 times better than you were on day one? And all I'm asking is 1% better each day. So when we shoot for best, challenge with best is there an implication that best is it. It's done. It means it has a ceiling, when in fact there is no ceiling. We can become better and better and better and better and better forever. And that's how we're designed to roll, right? We're not designed to ever stop. So throw out this best crap. Focus on being better every day, 1%. Better than what? Better than you were the day before. Stop comparing yourself or even measuring yourself against those around you. Next, when it comes to setting goals, right, it makes a lot of sense to cheat. Cheat as much as you can. My way of cheating is controlling environments, setting them up, making them conducive to my success. Example, an environment is one, your physical. Your physical space is your environment. If losing weight is on your thing to do, cheat. Create an environment conducive to ending your crappy eating habits. Don't have junk food in the house. Don't leave stuff in the house that you are not supposed to eat. If you're trying to quit drinking booze, same damn thing. Create environments conducive to your success. People are the most influential environment around us. If you are not good at achieving goals that you set for yourself, do not hang out with other people that condone that type of behavior. Hang around with people that will beat you down for not doing what you say, that will hold you accountable, that will force you to step up, that will love you and punch you in the face at the same time because they know it's for your own good, right? Create environments that are conducive for you to succeed in achieving that commitment you made to yourself that you agreed was non-negotiable. And you ain't trying it. You ain't hoping for the best. You don't try anything. You either commit, you go on, and you do, or you don't do, but you don't try to do this. Okay? So 1% every day, control environments, create environments conducive to your set, that are conducive to your success, and look at all the different environments that influence us. Okay? The next one here is important. In order to achieve your goals, you've got to show up every single day. Never miss a day. Going to the gym as an example. I hear this from people all the time. Man, I just didn't feel like, I didn't feel good. I didn't want to have a bad workout. No, you're better off having a bad workout, but being the person that shows up. Be the guy or gal that does what they say and says what they do. But I only work out for 5 minutes and I puked. Well, you still showed up. It's more important to show up and have a bad workout than it is to have a no workout and be the person who doesn't show up when things aren't perfect. Anybody can operate and perform in a perfect environment. It's those who can operate in imperfect environments all the time, continuously, without exception, that achieve results. So stop with this on again, off again, on again, off again routine. Make a practice of showing up every day, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of how you feel, okay? Be that person, right? So in order to achieve these goals that we set, right? Understand the behaviors that you have to change. Narrow it down to 3 trackable behaviors that you want to change. Don't compare yourself to others. The comparing game is a loser's game. You will drive right into the pothole, I guarantee you. Don't try to be the best. Try to be better than you were yesterday. The best implies a ceiling. The best means you're still back in comparing. Worry about you. Be the best you possible every day, 1% every day, better than you were before. Control environments. Create environments that are conducive to your success. Cheat. Ain't nothing wrong with that, right? Because it's for your benefit. And finally, show up every day. Don't miss a day. So first we had how to set them. Second here, we had how to get them. Now finally here, how to keep them, right? So if you look at the learning cycle is pretty simple. There's only 4 stages to it, right? Step 1 is what we call an unconscious incompetence. You're unaware of how bad you are at doing something because you've never done it, right? Step 2 is a conscious incompetence, meaning that you're aware of how bad you are at it. Step 3 is conscious competence. Through great focus and attention, you can competently achieve what it is you're trying to do. And finally, we have unconscious competence, where you subconsciously, without thought, without emotional currency, are competently achieving. That's when we've created a new habit. And goal achievement is about establishing habits. Goal achievement is about establishing habits. When I taught my 16-year-old daughter to drive, first thing I did is I plopped her in the car, said, turn over the key. It was a manual shift car. She turned over the key that lurched forward, scared the crap out of her, right? She was in a state of unconscious incompetence, quickly became consciously incompetent, became aware that she didn't know how to drive. Through repetition, repetition, stalling the car, fixing whatever. Finally, we got to a point where we pulled up to a stop sign, and she pushes in the clutch and lets off the gas and presses the brake, and the car doesn't stall. She's now reached a state of conscious competence. She said, "Woo, I did it. Whoa, Dad, I know how to drive." I said, "No, stop. You don't know how to drive." Just because you can consciously pull it off, this is where we go wrong, right? Just because you can consciously pull it off doesn't mean it's a habit. Habit is when the body knows better than the mind, when we don't have to think about it, when our body can achieve it faster than mind. You ever wonder why, like in martial arts, in MMA, you see cage fighters where one guy goes to throw a kick and the other guy, before the guy's kick even got off the ground, has got his hand out to block the kick. No, he's trained his body to respond faster than his mind. You ever notice that for those of you who are really fast typers, right? You can type 60, 70, 80 minutes or 80 words a minute. But if I asked you to write out the keyboard on a piece of paper, take you 10 minutes to write it out once. Some of you couldn't even do it because you've taught your body to know better than the mind. That's when a habit has been established. We oftentimes, if we even achieve the goal, our next failure point is we quit when we achieve it. I'm telling you, no, you can't. You've got to plow through and repeat until the behavior that it took to acquire the goal has been locked into the subconscious. So the body's learned it and doesn't require the mind. So I drive up to we pulled to the stop sign to get with my daughter, and I engage her with a question. I said, "Hey, Sam, when do you graduate next year?" Now, she wasn't graduating next year. She had to stop and think about the question. It distracted her from focusing on shifting the car, and the car stalled. I said, "See, you don't know how to drive yet." And within about a week's time, I asked her another question at another stop sign. She stopped the car. It didn't stall. I said, "Now you're getting it." Because I was able to distract her, take her cognizant mind off of driving, and her body still knew exactly what to do without her thinking. You guys starting to get this? If you truly want to achieve goals, you've got to put in the work that takes it from concept goal, right, into behavior repeated with high-level awareness, which also engages accountability, trackability, all that kind of stuff, until the body has learned it better than the mind. So we don't have to think about it anymore, right? So in order to keep the goals, right, establish meaning. This is one of the most important pieces of keeping a goal, all right? If there's not a real reason behind doing it in the first place, the likeliness of even getting it done when the going went tough probably went to hell. But once you're there, there's got to be a meaning attached to the goal. Why are you doing the goal in the first place? That's going to trigger an emotion. And it's the emotion we want to anchor onto. It's the emotion that we can actually future cast and start playing in the future. What would it be like be living this goal today? And we feel that emotion in real time today. And when what we think about and what we feel emotion are compliant, it actually changes our actions in the current to produce the future desired result. That starts getting deep into the subconscious space as well. When our mind, what we think about, is in alignment, compliance with what we feel, when we think and feel about a desired result, changes our actions. And we start acting as if we had already received that outcome, which means that we pull it into our space much faster. Just think about this. If the way you thought about weight loss was in compliance with the way you feel about weight loss, and you started to feel like a different person because you were losing weight, it would change your actions towards your eating automatically. Okay. And this is how we trigger an emotion in order to help achieve the goal and help keep the goal. Okay. Focus on habit creation. We already talked about that. In order to keep the goal, our focus has got to be on creating the habit, not on the goal. The goal is the outcome. It's the measuring part of the habit. Okay. Finally, and this is magic, this is gold, okay? If you ask me one thing that separates those who do from those who don't, those who succeed from those who don't succeed, those who have from those who don't have, it's this one thing. This falls under the space what we call emotional intelligence. This is the idea that we are in control of our emotions, okay? Now, would you agree, before I explain this to you or share this with you, would you agree that the way you feel affects the way you think? Would you agree that the way you feel affects the way you think? And of course, you'd say yes. And that the way you think affects your decision making. And of course, you'd say yes. And your decision making, your action taking, of course, you'd say yes. And your action taking responsible for the results, the way we experience life, the results we get, right? Of course. Well, now we've connected directly a relationship between the way we feel and the way we experience life, the results we get. And those who succeed, those who achieve results and outcomes predictably, right, have gained control of this. The one thing that separates those who do from those who don't is the fact that they don't let how they feel affect what they do. They don't let how they feel affect what they do. Instead, when an emotion that triggers a bad thought that would then trigger the wrong decision, action, result, when an emotion creeps in, the thought immediately is triggered. They say, stop. Think about what you're thinking about. Is your current thought in alignment with achieving your goal, getting the results you want? And if not, as human mammals, we're the only mammal who can do this, as human mammals, we can inject a new thought and we can think anything we want. We have that authority. And that new thought will trigger a new emotion because thoughts trigger emotion. Emotion then will trigger new thoughts, new decisions, actions, results, the ones that we wanted in the first place. So if you wanted to change anything today, I'd say this. Focus on how you feel all day long. Focus on the thoughts that come out of those feelings and start playing this little game. Are these thoughts in compliance with the result I want? Or do I have to think another thought? What would that thought be to trigger a new emotion, new decision, action, result, the one that I wanted in the first place? And that's the magic to actually achieving, keeping the goals that we set. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully that's been helpful. I know there's a lot there. I know we jammed in a small little period of time here, but man, it's that time of year that we get serious about this stuff. And well, good luck. Peace.